So hey guys, today I want to talk to you about your outdoor survival shelter and how you can make that even better. First of all, you want the door to face the sunrise. Ideally, you want the shelter door east or southeast. This is so it will catch the morning sun and also so it can avoid prevailing winds and storms. So, it's very important that you understand the direction your shelter is going to be built and that you get that shelter door facing the right way. Otherwise, you can end up having a lot of storm water or wind or other things coming in through the shelter door, which is obviously not what you want to happen. It's also a good idea to practice your building skills before you're actually going to need them. I know a lot of people think, oh, I'll read about it, I'll learn how to do it. Maybe I'll keep a cheat sheet on my phone, in my pocket, in my bug out bag. And when the time comes, I'll have what I need to figure this out. But in reality, it doesn't work that way. In reality, when you get put into a survival situation, you are going to want to panic. Even if you're really, really prepared, it's sometimes a very scary situation. It's facing the unknown, and if you have your family with you, it can really escalate fast, the amount of panic and fear that people can feel. So practicing by building a survival shelter ahead of time so that you really know what you're going to do, you know what kind of mistakes you made, so you don't make those when it really comes down to needing the shelter, is always a good idea. And the shelter could be built, say, in your family survival camp, out in the woods someplace where you think you might bug out. It could be built right in your own backyard. And if you have kids, let them use it for a playhouse. I mean, there are so many ways that you could use a shelter after it was built instead of just leaving it, stand there and take up space. But getting those skills beforehand and knowing exactly what you need to do, how long it's going to take you, and all of that is really going to help keep the situation a lot calmer should you end up in a bug out situation where you have to put up shelter in the wild. You also want to mark your shelter. Now, I understand that the point of the shelter is to blend into your surroundings and help you kind of hide. But at the same time, you need to have a piece of colored cloth or plastic that you take with you. So if you leave your shelter, you can find it again if there's low visibility. And also that if you're in a rescue situation, searchers can find you, because otherwise your shelter could blend in so well that they don't even see it, or you don't see it, and then you can't find your way back to the shelter that you spent all that time building. So again, if you're inside of your shelter and you don't want to be found, take that piece of colored plastic or fabric off, but when you leave, go ahead and attach it someplace so that you can clearly see it. And again, if you need to be rescued for whatever reason, you have that to attract attention to yourself. You also want to avoid bugs. And this is just a natural thing that happens when you're in the woods, when you're out in nature. Bugs are just there. But there are a few things that you can do in order to lessen the amount of bugs inside of your survival shelter. You can smoke it out. Now, I know we talked yesterday that you want all of your fires to be downwind at least 12 feet from your shelter. What you're going to be doing here is you're going to be removing all of your bedding and all of the cloth and basically everything from inside of the shelter, or you're going to be doing this before you put all that stuff in. And you're going to use a fireproof container filled with coals or rotten wood or whatever it is that you can find. and you're going to put it in the center of your shelter, and you're just going to let it smolder so that it's going to eliminate some of the insects that are inside of your shelter. Again, you're going to be very, very careful because you don't want this to tip over and catch your shelter on fire. You know, if you have children or people that have a tendency to be a fall risk, you don't want them inside of your shelter when you're doing the actual smoking out of it, because you just don't want to take a chance of having that tipped over. So those are some really quick tips for you to think about. You know, if you're going to use natural materials to build your shelter, you really do need to think about how are you going to chop down or gather those materials and get them back to where you're going to build your survival shelter. Because wood can be very, very heavy. You know, big logs can be very heavy to carry. You don't really want anything that's rotted, because that's not going to give you, you know, what you need as far as the structure being sound. And yes, you can carry an axe with you, but you need to think about that, because maybe you're not going to want to lug a great big heavy axe with you. And then again, you know, maybe you've got some kind of setup where you can protect the blade so that it can't cut you, and you can strap that axe to your back, your belt, or wherever. Probably you're not going to have chainsaws. One, because they're just big and bulky, and two, because you may not want to run chainsaws and draw attention to yourself. So, like I said, you're going to have some way to cut the wood. Possibly, if you know where you're going, you can pre-cut the wood and you can have it stacked up and ready to go. You're also going to need some way to attach the wood together, whether that's using some kind of twine, using nails, using, you know, metal straps, whatever it is. You really need to think about all of this beforehand. And if you know where you're going to be going, maybe build the shelter beforehand, or like I said, at least have stuff hidden there somehow, buried underground, or whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that it's there and make sure that you can find it, but other people who may be in the same survival situation can't find it. Because, as you know, if things get bad, people are going to fight over things, and people are going to feel like they have a right to claim things that other people may have already set aside for themselves because they're in a panic. You know, life is not as you know it. So, I do run the blog, experimentalhomesteader.com. We do have a lot of prepping articles over on the blog, as well as recipes and craft items. Lots of things over there. But I really encourage you to go over and look at some of the prepping articles, look at some of the survival articles. These are tips you can use every day, whether it's a hurricane, a typhoon, some type of riot, because, you know, those have been breaking out more and more lately. You know, any type of natural disaster. I mean, you really, really need to be prepared and on your toes and have a plan in place, because it is going to make everything go so much smoother for you and your family. So, like I said, come on over to experimentalhomesteader.com and check out what I have there. Feel free to ask questions either on the blog or below this video in comments. I really want to know the things that you would like to learn about that would help you to get your prepper plan in place, or help you get your homestead where you want it to be. I do encourage you to subscribe. We are trying to reach 10,000 subscribers still. And I would also really appreciate it if you would share this video on social media, you know, share it with your friends. Get people to come over, because this is the kind of information that every single person needs to know. You could even teach your children, if you have young children, you know, give them tasks. No, they can't do really large tasks, but there are little things that they can do that are going to make them feel like they are part of the family and not just be in a panic should a situation occur. So again, I really encourage you to involve your whole family in this. So anyway, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments below. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great night.